So let's go ahead and blame a theory about masculinity. Of course, this comes from California. Of course, they blame toxic masculinity over the actual person committing the violent, terrorist, terrible acts against 4 people. California, ISIS jihadi stabs 4 in university classroom. University blames toxic masculinity. Who would have thunk it? Oh, God. This is gonna... I'm going to have to start drinking. The FBI last Wednesday released new details about the case of Faisal Mohammed, who in November 2015, while he was a freshman at the University of California, Merced, entered a classroom and stabbed 4 people. It was already known back at the time of the attack that young Mohammed was a jihadi. The College Fix reported that he was found to have an image of the ISIS flag, a handwritten manifesto with instructions on how to behead someone. I didn't know there was a manifesto out there. And reminders to pray to Allah. The new information that had just been released about the case only confirms this and shows up the abject idiocy of the university's utterly predictable reaction to the attack. Right. Let's not blame the person. Let's not blame the ideology. Let's blame a theory about masculinity called toxic masculinity. Who would have thought? Well, I mean, I would have, because I am who I am. Mohammed, according to the AP, planned to praise Allah while slitting the throats of classmates and use a gun taken from an ambushed officer to kill more. Then he planned to call 911 to report the killings, read the Quran until he heard sirens, and take a calm shot after shot with the gun. When the police arrived, he mapped out the detail for his jihad. It included putting a balaclava at 7:45 a.m. and saying, "In the name of Allah," before stepping into his classroom and ordering students to use zip ties he provided to bind their hands. Mohammed also planned to make a fake 911 distress call to report a suicidal guy. This is how they write at AP these days, and wait for police outside the classroom before ambushing from behind and slit calmly yet forcefully one of the officers with guns. Good luck, pal. Presumably in the officer's throat, in accordance with the Quran's directives. I guess it is right here. When you meet the unbelievers, strike their necks. All this stands in stark contrast to how the attack was initially reported, and even more to the reaction to the University of California, Merced. Mohammed's attack, as College Fix noted back in 2015, November, was widely characterized as revenge for being kicked out of a study group. Why was he kicked out? Well, we probably won't know. Maybe we will. Even worse, instead of waking up to the reality of Islamic jihad, many at the University of California, Merced, mourned for the attacker with the Facebook RIP tribute to Faisal Mohammed gaining massive support among the campus community. Not even that was enough for the relentlessly woke UC Merced faculty, who hosted a teach-in that about 200 students attended entitled, "Don't Turn Our Tragedy into Hate." It didn't mention Islam or jihad at all, except in the context of discussion about how Muslims are victims of Islamophobia. So let me get this straight. University of California Merced during the sit-in. It's okay if someone is Islamophobic, or not. It's not okay for someone who's Islamophobic, and the reaction of that Islamic student or Muslim student is to stab 4 students. That's the normal response, or the normal human response. According to the one student who attended the teach-in, Islamophobia was cited as the reason people want to call it a terrorist attack. Because it was? People were quick to sympathize with the attacker and assume anyone who thought this was related to radical Islam was a xenophobic racist. I guess, never mind. Among the topics discussed were, what does mental health have to do with this? A lot. How do we define our community? What lives are grievable? not the attacker. And what do race and religion have to do with this? I think religion has something to do with it. Race, not so much. But religion is probably the primary factor for this attack. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm going to go out on a limb. If I was a betting man, and I am, I would bet on this was a religious attack, if you will. Standing out in the soup of fashionable leftists, shibboleths was this: why are men more likely to be perpetrators of violence? That'd be a good question, but we're not going to get a correct answer. One speaker suggested that the attack was all about men not being allowed to be weak, self-centered, weepy narcissist. Anger, that is really what we think about when we think about an emotional man. They are subject to social sanctions if they deviate from masculinity. No. If you're perceived as failing at it, you are subject to being called a poussoir, a wimp, pretty much what women are, right? So when you have this limited ability to sort of express your emotions and possible feelings of emasculation or of low self-esteem, how do you really deal with that? I know how you deal with that. You don't stab 4 frickin' people. I mean, I don't care what, book from the, from the 600s tells you to do that. You shouldn't stab 4 people. I shouldn't even have to say this. It doesn't matter if you don't like the religion or they kicked you out of a study group. Bringing violence on those people that wronged you in this particular incident is wrong. Stabbing 4 people because your religion tells you is wrong. It has nothing to do with masculinity. It has nothing to do with not being edited by someone and being, I guess, not shown the proper way to deal with anger. So this is okay. A lot of times they engage in violence. They need to compensate for their loss of masculinity in the most manly way they have access to. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's violence. I hate to break it to you there, buddy boy, buddy girl, or buddy miscellaneous. That's never the correct way. Violence is not correct, especially in this instance. Now, there's times when when you're fighting a war and someone's trying to kill you, yes, that's an okay sort of way to perform violence. But going to your classroom and you see Merced and stabbing 4 people because your religion tells you, or you think it's the correct way to express your masculinity, is completely wrong. And trying to say it's okay because this person was being, I guess, shown people were being racist against him, whatever. Violence is not correct. Why? Of course. It is all about toxic masculinity, don't you see? If poor Faisal hadn't been so pressured to conform to society's notions of masculinity, which does not bear fruit in this instance, if he had just been able to put on comfy shift and lounge around his dorm room in high heels, he never would have gone on his stabbing spree. Faisal Muhammad stabbed 4 people just because he was a sensitive soul in a world that was too harsh for him. Why? What other explanation could there possibly be? The University of California, Merced, is no different from any other campus all over the country today, full of self-righteous, pseudo-intellectual, indoctrinated bots who have been thoroughly imbued with the notion that when Islamic jihadists attack us, it is our fault. All too many, even among law enforcement and counterterrorism officials, assume the same thing. No number of Faisal Muhammads, and there will be many more, will convince them otherwise. Nonetheless, it is unfortunate but true that eventually all this denial and willful ignorance is going to blow up in everyone's face. We can only hope that the blow up won't be literal. So, what can we take from all of this? Besides the obvious, violence isn't the correct sort of avenue to go down to if you're wronged. This is not. It's, in my opinion, once that stupid dumbass potato becomes president, more of this crap is going to come out. Unless Republican governors stop this crap right at their borders of their state. If they defy the federal government in all of its perceived and literal dictates that will be coming right after January 21st, 2021, if, in fact, Donald Trump doesn't actually win in the courts. But I'm betting that that stupid dumbass potato is going to be your next president. I say he's not my president. I know he's president of the United States. I didn't vote for him, therefore, he's not my president. Yeah, I get it. I'm an American. He will be president. Hopefully not, but he will. Doesn't matter. I can live in denial, and that's what I plan to. But coming back to this is more of the stuff is going to happen. More of the stuff is going to permeate through our society. More people are going to blame the victims instead of this attacker right here. And this is what we see coming forward in the next 4 years in this country. It was stopped for the last 4 years. Now expect more of this continue. Let's blame toxic masculinity over the attacker who stabbed 4 people in a UC Merced classroom in November of 2015.